Hello, welcome everybody to today's presentation. Um, Today we'll be looking at DevOps and we'll be looking at collaboration and feedback as it respects to DevOps. What is DevOps? We'll get to find out how DevOps works, the DevOps lifecycle, DevOps tools, the benefits of DevOps. We'll get to find out all of this at the end of today's presentation. So sit tight and let's go. So what is DevOps? DevOps is a set of practices, tools, and a cultural philosophy that automates and integrates the processes between software development and IT teams. It emphasizes team empowerment, cross-team communication and collaboration, and then technology automation. So what does that mean? Over the years, there have been several ideas about software development and its methodologies. We've had the waterfall, we've had several methodologies that had to do with software development, but those those methodologies didn't have um, they weren't flexible enough to cater for the needs of or the demands of um, present day technology because technology is ever changing and um, what is relevant today might be obsolete tomorrow. And so, for the fact that we have to constantly change our working processes, we have to change how we do things as it relates to software development. Um, that constant change shouldn't affect outcome as that is what basically DevOps is supposed to tackle because if you have a system that works and it is working effectively, there is no need to change it. Maybe you can add a few things to it to modify and improve performance and all of those extra things, but the core functionalities and basically the standard to production shouldn't change. And that is what DevOps hopes to achieve. What is what DevOps is aimed at achieving in the software development process. Um, so it says it's a set of practices. Um, it now says that these practices are not they are not custom to they are not custom to a particular process. It can be adaptable. You can implement DevOps in whatever sphere of production you see out there. So how does DevOps works? How does DevOps work? A DevOps team includes developers and IT operations working collaboratively throughout the product lifecycle, just like I said. So each team in the DevOps um, that practices DevOps has a role to play as it comes to collaboration and feedback in the life cycle because they owe their team members the the they owe them feedback most importantly as to the updates on regular sprints, whatever tasks, and it improves the development life cycle in the sense that um, structure has been put in place and the system works. You are just injecting into the system and you know what you are injecting. And then there's that trust on the part of the developer and also the operations that what I am requesting for, I'm getting it and I am not getting something that is substandard, and that is how DevOps works. So basically, there is a production arm, is the operation arm rather, and then there's also the development arm. So the development arm of the software development process develops the product, and then the operations arm has to do with the testing. So they test this product that has been developed, and then they give them feedback on what the client thinks about this particular product, what feedback is needed from this particular production, how should we do things better as to get the best out of this particular product. So that is what DevOps is supposed to achieve. DevOps teams uses tools to automate and accelerate processes, which helps to increase reliability. A DevOps toolchain helps teams tackle important DevOps fundamentals, including continuous integration, continuous delivery, automation, and collaboration. So the DevOps lifecycle. I've been mentioning the DevOps lifecycle like since I started. So what is the DevOps lifecycle? It has to do with the process of continuously making changes to a system, and these changes don't break the flow, they don't break the functionality, but it's just an addition to tackle an observation. So take for example, you have a product that's already out there in the market, and then you get feedback from the customers as to how this is responding to, okay, let's say this application doesn't load quickly on an Android phone as respect to an iOS device. So this feedback will help you to determine how to best improve on this particular performance um, of the product based on the feedback that you got. So because of the continuous nature of DevOps, practitioners use the infinite loop to show how the phases of DevOps lifecycle relates to each other. Despite appearing to flow sequentially, the loop symbolizes the need for constant collaboration and iterative improvement throughout the entire lifecycle, just as I said. So the constant feedback I get from you will tell me how I am performing, and then I know where I need to make changes. So these changes are changes that are in line with the feedback I get, and then I am able to tailor this feedback to my development process, and then make better use of the feedback I get from clients. So one of the DevOps lifecycle processes, the planning stage. So DevOps teams should adopt agile practices to improve speed and quality. So agile is an iterative approach to project management and software development that helps teams break down work into smaller pieces to deliver incremental value. So you have a whole lot of work to be done, and it is listed out on your board, or your yeah, basically your board. So you monitor the progress, you track each step of the development process, and then these steps you get to know that okay, within this particular time frame we are able to achieve this particular amount of work. So because you've been able to predict how the work will be executed and how quickly it should be executed, you can be able to forecast and then plan ahead of time to deliver um, changes in rapid time. So the building stage is done with Git. So people make use of Git. Git is an open source version control software. It offers excellent support for branching, merging, and rewriting repository histories, which has led to many innovative and powerful workflows and tools for development and build process. So I initially mentioned the process where people integrate into um, a, a main branch. So should there be an existing code base and you are onboarded to the team, and then you're given a task to add a feature to this particular project. Yes, there is going to be the possibility that you might be lost in the pool of code, and you just have to focus on the task that is assigned to you. Because of Git, you can be able to effectively integrate this process of development, because whenever you make any change, it is tested. So whenever the test passes, then it is then integrated to the main branch, or you can then create a pull request for people to review this. You can create a pull request for people to review the changes you've made, and then should it pass the test, and then it can be integrated to the main branch before you can now say yes, you're done with this phase of production. You can then close out the main branch or that branch you created. So continuous integration and continuous delivery. CI/CD allows teams to release quality products frequently and predictably, from source code repository to production with automated workflows. So I am developing, and then I need to push this to production as soon as possible. I need to move this to production as soon as possible without breaking the constant flow, the current working condition of the system. So with continuous integration and continuous delivery, you can be able to achieve that, because what you have will be tested before it joins with the main branch. And then when it is merged with the main branch, this feature will then be tested alongside with the existing code base for it to pass this test. So when it passes this test, you can now say you've been able to carry out continuous integration. And then the process of continuous delivery will now have to do with you this code that has been integrated to the main branch. It's then delivered to people on whatever platform the product is supposed to work on. Yeah, so we're looking at monitoring and alerting. So this has to do with assessing the code, because the fact that you can quickly identify and resolve issues that impact product like uptime, speed, and functionality. Um, this enables you to be aware of whatever changes are being made, and then whatever failures, so you can prepare, and there is always a plan ahead of time for these eventualities, so you wouldn't be caught in a situation where you don't have a full understanding of what happened, and you have to now go back to ask questions. So without going through all of the stress and hassle, you can set up a monitoring and alerting system for your CI/CD pipeline that would enable you to get real-time notifications for changes that happen along the pipeline. So operating, manage the end-to-end delivery of IT services to customer. So this includes the practices involved in design, implementation, configuration, deployment, and maintenance. So whatever operation practice are um, you are integrating to this development process, DevOps is you can allow the fact that DevOps is a system that allows for these excesses. So wherever there is an error somewhere, the error is addressed and it is tackled um, correctly. So you can manage what the customer receives. You know what this customer is receiving because you have tested it. It has worked on your test environment. It has worked on your production environment. So there should be no reason why it shouldn't work on the customer's device. So that assurance is there because of your continuous monitoring and continuous operation. So because of this, you can now have continuous feedback. Continuous feedback now has to do with you taking back this information you've got from um, the end user, and then you incorporate it back into the system. You integrate it back into the system, and then the circle begins again. They take up that feedback, they review it, they get the data that people are actually passing out from this feedback, and then it is then integrated into the development phase, and the process and the life cycle begins all over again. So for DevOps, there are certain tools that allow you to properly and effectively integrate DevOps in whatever um, whatever production or development stage you are in. So for the planning stage, we have the Jira software. It has to do with so most companies have different tools that they make use of in their development lifecycle. So there are various alternatives to these softwares listed out here. There are various alternatives to them because this is this is Atlassian. This is an Atlassian DevOps um, lifecycle. So are these tools are what works within the Atlassian lifecycle. You have these tools and they integrate correctly with one another because it's part of their integration process, and they can effectively run pipelines because of all of these tools properly integrating and connecting correctly with one another. Okay, so let's take a look at some of them. Um, we have Bitbucket. Bitbucket has to do with a versioning tool. It's a version control software that allows you to, just like Git, it versions whatever change that's made to the main branch, and copies are made. Most of these changes are documented, most of them are implemented along the lines of um, changes. When people observe these changes that are being made, it is then documented and captured into the system memory as versions for future references. So what are the benefits of DevOps? Okay, so teams that practice DevOps, they experience speed in development process because the system works, and because the system works, it is not you recycling or reinventing the wheel. You're just introducing new code that has been tested and has good quality. So teams that practice DevOps release deliverables more frequently with higher quality and stability. So because of that fact that the system captures all of this data, tests it against the main um, branch, you are able to deploy easily and with record time. So improved collaboration, people get to get feedback from their clients. They get to know what they are doing wrong. They get to know where they should make improvements, and the process of development is it's smoother because yes, there's constant feedback from the client, there's constant feedback from the end user. There's rapid deployment. So rapid deployment has to do with um, this code has been tested, it has been pushed to the main branch. You should deploy it. So The foundation of DevOps is a culture of collaboration between developers and operations team who share responsibility and combine work. This makes teams more efficient and save time related to work handoffs and creating codes that is designed for the environment where it runs. So because there is already a system that works and there is no point for um, you reinventing the wheel, maybe you're adding to it or you're not reinventing it. It's a lot easier to add to whatever system that already works rather than building a whole system from scratch. So um, there's quality and reliability. So because there is quality and reliability, there shouldn't be any reason why um, teams have issues with development because um, should your code work, should your code work, the only improvement you can make is on the quality. You're no longer looking at the functionality because functionality is clean, it works correctly, and then it is tested and this code passes this test. Because it passes the test, you can then integrate it to the main branch without fear of you losing some bits of work that has been done in the past because of some error that was made. So there's quality and reliability. And then there's also security. So because the system has already been tested against several um, engines that are supposed to make sure that this code is up to standard and it is delivered correctly by integrating security into continuous integration and continuous delivery. So this comes to the end of our session today, and I hope we are able to gain a few things from this presentation. So should you have any questions, you can always leave it in the chat box. Thank you for having me, and it's been an honor to be on the call with every one of you. So thank you. You can leave your questions.